Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today I'll be discussing Marvel's Moon Knight with spoilers, so let's get into it. Out of all the MCU shows, there have been some bad ones like Falcon and the Winter Soldier or What If, and some good ones like WandaVision and Loki. And I have to say that I think Moon Knight is my favorite MCU show by far. The shows are turning out to be more of a creative avenue, an experimental avenue for Marvel, who seem to get too stuck in their formula as of late. But projects like this make me feel some love towards Marvel again. The most impressive thing about the show to me is Oscar Isaac's performance as Moon Knight. He is a terrific actor and gives another great performance here. The way he changes personalities is flawless, and there are a few instances where he will do it in the same scene, so it just feels even more impressive. Now, going into the episodes themselves, they are varied in quality a little bit, especially in the first half, so let's talk about the first two episodes. To me, they provided a solid introduction to the character by slowly giving us information about Stephen Grant, who works in a museum gift shop and is enthusiastic about Egyptian lore. I think throughout the whole series, Stephen is my favorite character. Oscar Isaac once again does a great job of connecting us to this character, especially in the first episode where his life isn't exactly how he would like it to be. He tries not to sleep and he ties himself to the bed so he doesn't change personalities. But of course that begins to happen anyway, and when it does, I thought it was handled quite well, with a sudden flashing and then he wakes up in a completely different situation, usually with something chaotic happening around him. We then see Mark Spector, the other personality, and the first shot of Moon Knight in the episode, which was cool. I love the suit. It is a little bit too CG in my opinion, but the design of it is still pretty awesome. Episode 2 just gives us a little more information about who Mark Spector is, and we see his partner Layla, who I thought was one of the weaker characters in the show. Most of the scenes that feature her grind the show to a halt in my opinion, because she's just not that interesting, especially compared to the struggle of personalities that both Steven and Mark have. We also see more of Khonshu, who is an interesting character, but at times he does feel a little bit derivative of Venom. His introduction is very interesting though, because they play into more horror elements to show us who he is. We also see more of Harrow, played by Ethan Hawke. I'm honestly quite mixed about this character, because at times he can be interesting, and then other times the stuff with this character is a little bit one-note and boring. I'm honestly not going to go into too much detail on episode 3 because it is just boring and forgettable, and I'm struggling to remember anything about it right now. It is just very generic, cookie cutter, and I was worried about where the show was headed after this episode. Episode 4 thankfully picks the show back up again and keeps it interesting. Continuing to see this dynamic between Mark and Steven evolve was just so great to me. It provides to me the most comedic and serious moments that the show offers. We get a little bit of tomb raiding in this episode, and honestly, this felt like it had more of an Uncharted feel than the actual movie did, which both shows how great this show is and how terrible the Uncharted movie is. The ending of this episode where Mark and Steven die and awake in the hospital was an awesome way to end the episode and left me wanting more.
Oh, I want that footage. I want it. I need it.
Now, episode 5 is easily the best episode in any MCU show, as it breaks the formula and actually talks about more serious themes properly and doesn't undercut it with childish humor. I really appreciate that they went for it here, talking about how Mark got abused as a child and how that trauma led to his DID. This strengthened the connection between the two personalities, and once again, Oscar Isaac plays it to perfection. This episode alone felt like a much better introduction to an MCU hero compared to most of their films, because he actually has meaningful events that are attached to his life that truly bother him, and it justifies why he made a deal with Khonshu to become Moon Knight in the first place. We find out that Steven, who has been the protagonist the whole time, is actually a secondary personality to Mark, and I thought the way the whole show leads up to that moment made the twist feel weightier, as Oscar Isaac has done a great job of connecting us to Steven the whole time. Having Steven also die at the end of this episode was impactful as well. However, there are things that happened in the last episode which mostly reverse that effect in my opinion. Episode 6 to me falls more in line with the MCU template than most of these episodes, and it both suffers and succeeds because of it. I like how entertaining the episode was. Seeing Layla attached to the Hippo character was a nice way of making her a little more interesting. However, I don't really understand how she was able to walk around with Harrow with a mask on without her getting spotted straight away. The thing that reverses the episode 5 death of Steven was the fact that they brought him back in this episode. I'm honestly so sick of Marvel doing this, to be honest, because it just feels cheap and it doesn't leave any consequences to the hero's actions. However, I will say there is an awesome fight scene with Moon Knight where both personalities are switching in the fight, and it looked awesome. The two suits that both personalities have fit their persona really well, and I was happy with how those fight scenes were done.
You look very fashionable.
The post-credit scene is interesting as it gives Marvel the option to pursue another season if they want. However, it also can be wrapped up here as well. I like the surprise of the third personality, who is more of a serial killer slash hitman, as it adds another dark layer to this show and further shows how much of an interesting character Mark Spector is. Overall, I had a great time with Moon Knight. It does have a couple of flaws here and there, plus episode 3 was just bad in my opinion, but the back half of the season really lifted Moon Knight up to becoming my favorite MCU show. I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. Thanks so much for watching. I have some very interesting reviews coming up very soon, so make sure to like and subscribe to see all of that. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.